Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today's video will hopefully, one, be very useful and actually give you some good information about what to pack and what to take with you when you go trekking in Nepal. So this video is going to be a complete guide on exactly what you need to take with you, during those hikes and treks that you can do so many of here in Nepal. Just to give you a bit of context about myself, I have actually done 3 treks here in Nepal: the Mardi Himal trek, the Langtang Valley trek, and the Annapurna Base Camp trek. And here and behind me is absolutely everything that I took on those treks. So if you are planning to trek in February and March, which is when I've done mine, then this should be a nice helpful video so you can know exactly what to take with you. Okay, so let's jump into it. First things first, obviously you need to take a proper trekking bag with you. Now this is the bag that I use. It's the Osprey 70 litre Fairpoint, or Farpoint I think it's called. This personally isn't a bag that I would recommend to go trekking with. There are a few points that I would suggest that when you are trying to decide on what type of bag to take. Here's a few points that definitely you need to bear in mind. So first things first, when you come to pick a good trekking bag, you need to make sure that you have good hip and shoulder support, because what you don't want to do is be carrying all of the weight of your bag on your shoulders, because then obviously you get very sore, your upper back becomes very uncomfortable. The main thing that you want to do is be taking all of the weight on your hips. So a good hip strap is very important, that you can do up nice and tightly. Good support here. I will, of course, I'll put on the screen now a bag which I suggest. It is another Osprey bag, which is amazing. I saw loads of people using this type of bag. It's just slightly different to mine, but make sure you get a bag with good back and good hip support. That is key. It is so important that you do not overpack your bag and bring unnecessary things if you're obviously carrying the weight yourself. If you have a guide or a porter who's actually going to be carrying your bag and half your equipment, then fine, obviously take as much as you want. But if you're trekking solo like I did, then weight is king, honestly. I think the first 3 or 4 days of the Langtang Valley trek, I overpacked my bag. It weighed about 18 kilograms, and it made it so unenjoyable to trek and so uncomfortable, because I was constantly trying to stretch my back, overthinking in my mind, why the hell did I pack so much stuff with me? So bear that in mind, that weight is king when it comes to trekking and hiking. One thing that this bag is good for, and I would highly recommend, if you can bring this, then definitely do, is actually a day bag. A day pack, maybe like a 15 litre backpack, something like that. The good thing about this bag, I will show you, is that it actually zips on the front here. So this is 2 bags in one. Now I have my big backpack and then my day bag, and this is obviously extremely handful, because with a lot of these treks you might stay 2 nights somewhere and then one day you'll go on a day hike for a few hours. So obviously when you do that, for example in the Langtang Valley there's a day hike called Ri. I did a video on that, you can go check that. I'll link it up somewhere here or here. But this is great, you can just chuck your water in the back, your camera, things like that. Nice 15 litres and you're all set to hike for the day. You can leave your main bag in your hostel or your hotel or guest house, whatever it is. Now the second most important thing is a good sleeping bag. This is a sleeping bag which I actually hired from Kathmandu in one of the shops there. There's so many different shops and places that you can hire them from. You don't need to buy one before you come, unless obviously you're a big hiker, then it's handy for you. But if like me, you're just trekking when you come to countries like Nepal, then just try and hire one. This cost me 100 rupees a day. It's a -10 sleeping bag. I was meant to give it back 1 month ago, but I haven't even been able to get to Kathmandu yet because the lockdown happened, so there's no buses or anything. But Obviously very important because the nights can get very cold and very chilly. Some nights it gets down to kind of -10, but with this, and I also wear my jacket and a few other clothes, I'm perfectly warm, and to be honest, even sometimes sweating. One thing that I don't have that I actually would recommend is a sleeping bag liner, because what that does is you put the sleeping bag liner inside your main sleeping bag and it keeps everything clean, you know, so your main sleeping bag doesn't get dirty and smelly, because trying to wash these is a pain in the arse. If you have the sleeping bag liner, you can take it out nice and thin, chuck it in the washing machine, and you know, it makes it a lot easier to stay clean and smell good. One thing that I already forgot to mention when it comes to the bag is get yourself a waterproof bag cover. Obviously very important because the weather does change a lot in the mountains, and you don't want to get caught without a waterproof bag cover, because obviously then everything will get wet. They're light, they roll down nice and easily. I think I got this off Amazon before I came actually, so yeah, make sure you bring yourself a waterproof bag cover. Okay, so the next thing related to also being waterproof is a waterproof jacket. Obviously, again, fairly essential. This one is from Berghaus. I bought this again in England before I came. It's really good, keeps me nice and dry. It has a hood here in the back. Nice thin lining, so you know, you don't get too sweaty when you put this over your main sort of down jacket. But obviously this is kind of a big essential, because as I said, the weather does change quite frequently. You know, you don't want to be getting caught in rain or snow and having nothing to keep you dry, because trying to dry some clothes up there is very difficult unless there's a sort of wood burning stove. Personally, I think it's worth spending a bit of money on it, because you don't want there to be any problems with it at all. I think this cost me about £100, but as I say, totally worth it. Buy it in a bigger size, because usually you're going to be wearing a lot of clothes underneath, for example a fleece, a t-shirt, a long sleeve, and then obviously the big down jacket. So a bigger size is better, just because you don't want it to be too tight. You still want to have some flexibility. Oh god, I almost forgot about literally one of the most important things, which are boots, trekking boots. Now, it is worth getting yourself a decent pair. Not necessarily trekking boots, but a decent pair of footwear, because you're going to be walking 6, 7, 8 hours a day most days, so your feet need to be comfortable. You need to make sure you're not getting blisters, they're not getting swollen, water's not getting in, otherwise, I don't know, you can get trench foot or something like that. For me personally, I went for trekking boots just because I wanted that extra ankle support, and I knew that the time of year I was coming to trek there would be a fair bit of snow. So as you can see, these go quite high up, you know, past the ankle, so no snow could really get in. These are bloody good trekking boots actually, according to Google and from my experience as well. These are the Salomon 4D XXX or something like that. They're waterproof. The good thing about these ones is they tighten up nice and tight. You can really adjust them. I didn't actually wear them in before I came to Nepal, which caused a bit of a problem on the first trek because I started to get a few blisters. But it is a good idea if you can. Maybe go on a weekend before you come trekking anywhere, and you know, try and wear the boots in, because once they get molded to your feet, they're a nice snug fit. My feet were always dry. The only annoying thing is, for some reason, they're just starting to tear here. I'm not really sure why. I have worn them on sort of 3 treks already within the last like 2 months, so you know, that's probably why there's a bit of wear and tear. And they actually are Gore-Tex, which is great. So they're light, they're durable, they protect your ankle, they protect your feet. Definitely recommend these. I know a lot of people do actually use trekking trainers, or I don't know what you call them, just trekking shoes. Of course, definitely worth bringing them or taking them instead of boots, depending on the weather and how much snow there is, because obviously they're lighter, they're more flexible, and they can be, you know, a lot more comfortable. So it really depends on what kind of footwear you prefer. One other thing is some flip-flops. Not these flip-flops, it's a bit sad, this is my surname on these, my dad got me these, but in the evenings, after you've taken your trekking boots off, there is nothing better than just putting on some comfortable shoes. Whether that's a pair of trainers, a pair of flip-flops or sandals, whatever. I would definitely recommend to bring a second pair of shoes just to put on in the evening once you've sort of showered and you're chilling around the fire, having a chat, having dinner. definitely worth to bring, as I say, some comfortable shoes to wear in the evening. Now onto the main jacket, which I pretty much wore every single day. Sorry, my phone just dropped on the floor. Is a down jacket. Now, you might be thinking, Will, that doesn't look warm at all. And you're right, it doesn't look warm, but it is warm. This is actually a synthetic down jacket, again from Berghaus. God knows why everything is from Berghaus. I just won some vouchers from work and then went to a shop in England and bought all of this stuff before I came here. This is fantastic. It's light, it rolls up nice and small. It's kept me warm in all conditions. Obviously still wearing a few other layers underneath. It's got the nice little penguin hood, so you know, it keeps your head warm at night when you're sitting around the fire, which I really like. And as always, you know, it's nice and light. So and I like the color black, so definitely make sure that you do get yourself a nice warm jacket. If you are going, as I say, maybe early January, February, then you might need something a little bit thicker than this, because for sure it can get very, very cold then. So you need to be prepared, because the last thing that you want is to be caught up on the mountains and you've got all of your layers on and you're still cold, because then, you know, you could be in serious trouble. Trekking isn't really a joke, especially in countries like Nepal. When I did the Annapurna base camp, there was 7 people back in January who got caught in an avalanche, and they actually, unfortunately, all died. So, as I say, it's no joke. You need to make sure that you have the right equipment and that you've done the right research. Rolls up, nice and small. The key to packing is rolling. Rolling! I've learned that over the few years. Okay, next thing that isn't Berghaus is a very standard North Face fleece. Where's the sign? North Face fleece here. Pretty much wore this every single day, especially in the mornings when it's, you know, a bit chilly. Definitely take a couple of fleeces. I've got one here and then a Berghaus fleece, of course. This one has a full length zip, which is good because obviously when it gets hot you can undo it, you can get a bit more air in. This one is a bit warmer and goes higher on the neck, so it keeps you a bit warmer. But definitely I would say try and take 2 fleeces with you, because what I could do is I could put this one on underneath and then this one on top, and then I could put my down warm jacket on, and you know, I was nice and toasty. Next things are obviously t-shirts. Now, most of the treks that I did were only about 7 days long or so, give or take. So I only took 3 t-shirts with me, which to be honest with you is more than enough. Probably could get away with just 2 t-shirts, but you know, I just wanted to bring one extra one just in case, because obviously when you're trekking it gets very sweaty, very smelly, so having that extra t-shirt to whack on is nice to have. Make sure that you do try and stay away from cotton, because cotton gets very hot, very sweaty. It takes a long time to dry when it gets wet, and it smells. This is just a polyester t-shirt. Again, I won't go into detail in these because they're just t-shirts really. I would take this one, as I say, nice polyester stretch kind of sport athlete's t-shirt. This is some kind of Northridge wool t-shirt, which was really good. And then I would actually take just my Levi's t-shirts, which I would most of the time wear in the evenings. These were the 2 ones that I would wear most of the day as I was trekking. But I mean, the thing with trekking is you will get smelly, you will get hot. You can have showers up in the mountains if you need them, but I mean, most people that go trekking are prepared to rough it for a few days, so if you smell a bit, who cares, you know? That's half the fun, I think, of it anyway. The next thing I took is a long sleeve sort of farmer's jumper, but I mean, you could get any kind of long sleeve just to bring that extra protection of layer. Again, always check the weather, because if you are going in those colder months, then what I would bring is one of those kind of Under Armour sport long sleeve thermals, because of course that will always be handy just to have that extra layer of protection, and they're quite nice to sleep in apparently. So you know, maybe a long sleeve thermal could also be a good idea to bring. On the tops front, I brought 3 t-shirts and 1 long sleeve, and that was it. And then obviously, as I said, my down jacket, my rain jacket, and the 2 fleeces. Okay, to jump onto the trousers, let me show you. Now, I know what you're thinking, Will. These aren't trousers. No, they're not trousers. I had to cut these trousers because of the lockdown here. I had no shorts, and unfortunately I had to cut these because I needed some shorts, because it's getting quite hot here in Pokhara. But these were some really nice, legitimate, I say, North Face trekking trousers, which again I bought in Kathmandu. I think these cost me 1,500 rupees. You don't need waterproof trekking trousers, just something that has a bit of durability, maybe water resistance. Definitely good that something can protect you from the wind, because you know, if the wind picks up and your legs are cold, that's no good. Or of course, I mean, what you could do to be even smarter is buy those trekking trousers which then turn into shorts, because then obviously you're saving space as well. So one thing that I definitely would take, which to be honest I didn't wear that much but I always brought it with me just in case, was some thermal trousers. These are great because obviously you can wear them even in bed if it gets cold, which is, you know, that's the time when the temperature drops the most, but also in the mornings when you start trekking. I would put these on underneath my my trekking trousers, and then off I go. It was nice and warm, and then maybe I'd get to a sort of place to stop for lunch and then take these off. But definitely worth bringing a pair of thermal trousers for sure. Another thing that I did take was just some sort of evening lounge tracksuit bottoms. I mean, these are absolutely nothing special. I think I bought these in Sports Direct in England before I came. Just something to put on in the evenings, which is a bit more comfortable, and you can just lounge around in the evenings, and they do keep you warm. But if you are sort of worried about space and weight, then I wouldn't say that these are an essential. If you can wear your trekking trousers in the evening as well, then obviously no problem. But for me, I just wanted to bring an extra pair of trousers just in case. I never really trekked in these, only wore these in the evenings after I'd showered and, you know, cleaned myself up. Along with footwear, obviously we have socks. Now socks are again fairly important. Get some nice wool socks that are going to dry quickly, that are reasonably thick as well. Obviously there's so many walking socks that you can get out there. These are just some Jeep walking socks. I took 3 pairs with me, which was more than enough. Obviously, you know, once you wear them 2, 3, 4 days in a row, they start to stink, but hey ho, as I said earlier, it's part of the fun. And you can always hang them on the outside of your bag to dry, but a good pair of walking socks is definitely a must. I won't go into my pants because, again, 3 pants for a week of trekking, that'll do. Nothing special about these pants, just normal boxers. Okay, so the next thing that I took was this micro towel. So, micro towel is great because they dry quickly, they are light and small, so you know, they don't take up much room in your bag at all. The only bad thing about these is, you know, it doesn't really dry your body as good as a normal towel does, but as I keep saying, the main thing when it comes to trekking is your bag weight and the size of it. So something like this, which rolls up nice and small, look, that's not taking up any space in my bag compared to maybe a bigger towel. So a micro towel is definitely a great thing to take with you. The next important thing is a pair of gloves. Now, if I was to trek again, which hopefully I will be able to, obviously depends on the lockdown and what happens, I'm probably going to buy a new pair of gloves. I actually bought these in Kathmandu at one of, you know, just these local shops. They're just a crappy pair of wool gloves. I mean, they're nothing special at all, but it wasn't really anything more than I needed, you know. I didn't need these big kind of winter skiing gloves. These are just woolen gloves. They're already tearing, as you can see here, but I think they cost 600 rupees, something like that. They're covered in food and chocolate and God knows what, but definitely bring yourself a pair of gloves, especially if you are trekking with poles, because obviously your hands are going to be on the outside of your body all the time. So you know, if the metal or the plastic's a bit cold, then obviously your hands get cold, which isn't good, because without your hands you can't do anything. You'll turn into Edward Scissorhands. So yeah, pair of gloves. The other thing that I would bring is what has become my mask during this lockdown, is a balaclava. Now this is good for a few reasons. When you are trekking, when it's dusty and muddy, obviously you can just whack this up, and then you're not inhaling any of the crap dust and mud and all that kind of stuff. Or when it gets cold, you have that extra layer of warmth on your neck and your face. So next we have sunglasses. Now these are actually very, very underrated. Not these specific sunglasses, but I mean bringing sunglasses with you. 100% take some good, solid, polarized sunglasses with you if you can, because obviously when you get to higher elevation, the snow will start to appear and you'll be trekking, you know, I don't know, 4 hours a day. The sun will be beaming down on the snow, which then reflects off that straight into your eyes. I remember I actually broke one pair of sunglasses on the trek, and there was another guy, luckily, who had a spare pair, but I trekked for about an hour without any sunglasses, and God, I was just squinting the whole time like this. It's very painful, and of course you can get snowblind, so make sure you bring a decent pair of sunglasses. One very handy thing to bring with you, I know I look ridiculous, is a head torch. Does it have any battery? I don't know. Where's the on button? Oh God, I haven't used it in a while. Yes, there we go. Doom, doom, doom. Head torch. The other thing is we need power when we're on the mountains. A lot of the times at the tea houses and the guest houses, they will charge you for electricity. That's just a standard thing on these guest houses. So what I did was I actually brought 2 power banks with me. I did have a third one, but I thought, wow, that's a bit excessive, Will. I don't need that much power. And you know, the thing with power banks is they are quite heavy. I mean, this is a 20,000 milliamp, so this lasts me a few days to charge my camera batteries, my phone, all that kind of good stuff, and my head torch. But yeah, you can, you know, if you can get away with just one power bank, then great, if you don't have a lot of camera equipment. But for me, you know, I record and upload a lot of my trekking videos, so I needed to make sure that I had enough power to charge my stuff. Just to jump into some quick toiletries, I call it medics. Just don't know why I did that, wrote it on there years ago and just never changed it. Hairbrush, not important. If you wanna, then why not? One thing that I haven't used but I will always bring with me is a mini first aid kit. As I say, it's not something that I've ever used yet, but I mean, it's got some good things in there, like little scissors, plasters, blister, things like that. So always bring a little first aid kit with you. It's got one of those metal sort of blankets, which, you know, if unfortunately you do get stuck, then that could save your life. So definitely get yourself a little first aid medical kit. You can buy them on Amazon fairly cheap. One thing that I don't have here, which kind of goes along with the sunglasses, is sun cream. Make sure you take some sun cream, because there was many times which I didn't have it and I was having to borrow it off other people, and I was getting very, very burnt. Like on some of my treks, you'll see in some of my videos, my face is so red, and especially my neck, because all day it was just so exposed to the sun, and then the sun coming off the snow, reflecting, everything was getting burnt. And obviously when you get burnt on your face or anywhere, it's very painful. So sun cream, definitely try and bring that, and some moisturizer if you can, because you know, in the evenings it's quite nice just to whack a bit of moisturizer on, just to lubricate the face. But again, it depends exactly on what you want to bring toiletry wise, but I think sun cream is a must. Where are they? Not these. This is Imodium, but again, probably worth taking in case you get the shits on the mountain. Then you know, if you eat some dodgy chicken or some dodgy dal bhat, Imodium, that should keep your stomach like concrete. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was these. These are Diamox tablets, or what they are called is zolamide, some weird name here in Nepali, or I don't even know what language it is. Basically, zolamide Diamox acclimatization tablets. This is obviously if you start to notice any symptoms of altitude sickness, AMS, then you can take one of these, and within sort of half an hour, hopefully, it should, you know, it should do the trick and sort of calm down your symptoms, because altitude sickness is not a joke. You need to take it seriously. But I didn't actually use these because I didn't have any headaches or anything like that. I still had my appetite. So, but don't muck around with altitude sickness. If you are really starting to decline in terms of your health because of it, bloody hell, get down, because the last thing you want to do is have to get helicoptered off and, you know, potentially pay thousands and thousands. And, you know, the worst case scenario is you could die from altitude sickness. So it's no joke. Take it seriously. And these are definitely worth getting. As I say, I haven't used them, but always had them just in case. A lot of this stuff that I've mentioned, you can buy in Kathmandu or in Pokhara. There's loads and loads and loads of shops, especially in Tamil in Kathmandu. You can buy everything from tablets to gloves to sleeping bags to down jackets, to backpacks, literally everything. A lot of the stuff, don't get me wrong, is fake, but it still does the job, which, you know, if you're going for a week hike, you probably don't need to be spending £200-300 on a nice North Face jacket, you know, unless you've got that kind of money to spend. One thing that I don't have here, which I would recommend, is some crampons, because obviously the higher up you go, the more snow there is, and the slipperier, that's not even a word, the more slippery it can get. So if you whack on a nice pair of crampons, then you're gonna stop slipping. And the sound they make when they touch snow is just delightful. That is just sensational. That crunch sound, oh, that is pure adventure to me. Once you put some crampons on and you're going up the mountain struggling to breathe, oh, I love that. Another thing to also bring with you, which I did have but I lost it on the trek, was a cap. Again, protects you from the sun, and you know, I always wear a cap just to keep my hair in order, because it can sometimes get a bit messy, or obviously a lot of people do take beanies, or sort of like a warm woolly hat, which is good, especially in the evenings when it's cold, because obviously then keeps your head warm. So one other thing to bring with you, which is fairly important, is toilet paper. You can buy it in the guest houses and the tea houses once you start the trek, but they will charge you an arm and a leg for it, because obviously they know you're going to need toilet paper at some point. If you can brave it and you want to use that ice cold freezing water and your hand to do the business, absolutely, I'll leave you to it. But for me personally, I like to have toilet paper and you know, do a general normal job sorted. So toilet paper, make sure you bring plenty of that. And of course, something to keep you alive is water. Drinking a lot of water during the day obviously helps with altitude sickness, especially when you've just woken up. Try and drink as much as you can. Don't be a fool and just be buying these bottles of water as you go up, because one, it's a waste of plastic and it's going to cost you more money. I bought this Life Straw water bottle, which is great. I think it's quite expensive in the beginning, maybe about £30, but as you can see here, it's got this nice filter in it, and then some sort of charcoal filter. Oh, it's just leaking everywhere. A charcoal filter here in the top. I can fill this bottle up from the stream, from the river, whatever, put this on top, screw it on, and then I can drink my water safely. This is apparently supposed to kill 99.9% of all the bacteria. I've literally used this every single day for the last 3 months while I've been in Nepal, because it's been so good. It's kept the water clean, which is obviously very important when you come to countries like this. The last thing that you want to be doing is drinking dirty water. And the great thing about this, I can just slot this in the side of my bag, and you know, when I'm trekking, put my bag down, turn around, have a sip, all good. Okay, so the last few things that I don't have with me but I would recommend to take with you are trekking poles. Personally, I didn't take these, but that is purely because I was filming my treks and I didn't want the faff of having 2 poles in my hand, then having to carry one under my arm while I get the camera out and all that kind of stuff. It was going to be too awkward for me. But I have felt a few problems on my knees since those treks, especially coming downhill, because trekking poles massively help taking the weight off your knees when you're going downhill, which obviously stop your knees from locking and things like that. So if you do need them, trekking poles, definitely a handy thing to take with you. And then the second thing is a map. Personally, I like having the hard copy of a map just because it makes me feel like a proper old school adventurer, but I never used it, I'm not going to lie. I just used Maps.me on my phone, and that was how I always knew that I was heading in the right direction. And always make sure that you bring some snacks with you during these treks. Whenever I was hungry or anything, whack out a bar, have a snack, have some water, put them back in my bag, and then off I'd go trekking again. So, I think that is pretty much everything that I wanted to say. Hopefully this has been useful and informative, because as I said in the beginning, I had many questions in the beginning about what the hell do I bring trekking with me. I will put a full list on the screen in the next few seconds or so, just to show you exactly what you need to bring with you. Personally, what I do is I make a list on my iPhone of every single thing that I need, and then once I've got it, tick it off in the bag, bam, I know it's safe, know it's sound, I know I've got it on my bag. Happy days. I'm going to put a link in the description to everything that I've mentioned in this video, and maybe a few other things which I think you should take with you, because maybe I have forgotten something. And if you do want to get any inspiration, or you're wondering what kind of trek that you should do, then I've made 3 trekking series, I guess you could call it, of the Langtang Valley trek, which was the first one I did, the Mardi Himal trek, and then the Annapurna Base Camp trek. So I will link to them here or here somewhere in the description. Go check them out if you're wondering what those treks are like, because as I said, it could give you some inspiration on which trek you should do. If you did find this video helpful and informative, then please do give it a like. And if you are going trekking in Nepal, hopefully when this pandemic is all over, whack a comment down below to let me know what trek you're doing, because you could give me some inspiration, because I am looking for that next trek to do. Anyway guys, stay safe, enjoy the day, whack a like, subscribe if you're new around here, because I'm going to make all sorts of travel related content, from vlogs to trekking videos to informative, useful, helpful videos like this. And as always, thanks very much for watching, and I shall catch you in the next one, just as a motorbike goes past. Peace!